We now move to the report primary sector, and the question is that the reports of the committees relevant to the primary sector be noted. I call Stuart Smith.
Mr Speaker, I'd like to move that the report for the primary sector be noted, and I think it's a fantastic report card that we can actually spend some time to explore, Mr Speaker. We have an aspirational goal to grow exports to $64 billion by 2025 for the primary sector. And I guess the question is how do we get there if we accept that goal? And I think it's great to have a stretch target. It's something that we can aspire to, Mr Speaker, or Mr Chair. And I think that we have such great performance now that's starting to come through in other sectors like the horticultural sector, like the wine industry, that is really driving exports. And in fact, while the dairy sector is going through a difficult time, we've in fact increased exports, and that's underpinned by those other sectors. So it's a pretty good story. But what I want to focus on today is some of the areas that in irrigation that the MPI, through Crown Irrigation Investments and the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, have helped to drive some irrigation schemes on. And in particular, Mr Speaker, Crown Irrigation Investments want to have a fund of $400 million available for direct capital investment for regional scale irrigation schemes. So what does that mean, and how does that help? And I guess there's often the talk about irrigation schemes should be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and they will in time. But the issue is there's so many moving parts to get an irrigation scheme up and running. There's a funding hump to get over. And in particular, the Flaxbourne Irrigation Scheme comes to mind. It's a scheme that individual farmers would have to fund a 15-kilometre pipe to storage, and an individual farmer couldn't afford to put that in. 2 farmers would struggle to even make it past the feasibility stage. So the council funding has helped in that particular scheme by providing a mechanism for the farmers to get together and get their scheme over that hump. But there's been some great help with the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, and the Minister made a very good announcement on that not so long ago. But to demonstrate the benefit of that irrigation scheme, we only really have to look at the example from a farmer like John Hickman from Taimati, which is in the Flaxbourne region, Mr Chair. 3% of their property, on a sheep and beef property, 3% is irrigated and growing grapes. So that 3% of the area provides 40% of the revenue off that property. And if you look at it on the basis of profit, it's even greater advantage to have an irrigation there. It is closer to 50% of the overall profit from just 3% of that area. And viticulture, as we know, is a very environmentally friendly industry, and it goes on to add to great value add because through the wine making process, where all that value is added to the grapes that leaves this shore in a bottle of wine, and with New Zealand on the bottle, is actually a great advantage to New Zealand and other industries, because it really gives us a reputation overseas of a producer of high quality, world-class products. And I think that's a wonderful example of what can happen through an irrigation scheme. That scheme still has to go through the process and get final tick off by the farmers, but I really look forward to that growing by millions, many millions of dollars, the export potential from that region. In fact, the Marlborough region have just done a labour market survey, and based on surveying all their members, 7,000 hectares is proposed to be planted by 2020 in the Marlborough region, and that adds up to more than Hawke's Bay and Central Otago combined. So it's a phenomenal vote and confidence in that industry. If we go further south to the Huranui Water Project, the Harden, Waikari area, which are the main area in the command area for the Huranui Water Project, some fantastic soils there. Anyone who's a cricket fan will have heard of Waikari pitches, Well, the soil for a Waikari cricket pitch comes from Waikari in the, around the Harden area, and that's in the Huranui Water Project Command area. Fantastic soils, but it's a very dry area. It's drier now than it has been in the last couple of years. It's been 2 years of drought, and it's really getting worse as every day goes by. And that area just wants an irrigation scheme. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Nathan Guy.